I would like to address with the group, when was the last time particularly that you saw the flames and the volume get this high on the Miami Heat? Because a lot of people right now are mad at Barry Jackson because he's reporting the Miami Heat's quote-unquote plan, and it isn't much of a plan. And the internet is pretty mad, okay, at, in general, what's happened to the Miami Heat. So you've got Evan Parsons, 85, saying this is the type of that pisses me off, them running propaganda ops through their big three, Barry, Ethan, and LeBatard. That's not going to work anymore. And now whenever I hear them talk about the team, I feel like I'm being played. Biscayne, Maine says, Heat culture is all about taking accountability unless you're the architect of the franchise putting together these teams. Big idiot Heat guy says, find someone who's willing to make excuses about you in the same way Pat Riley is willing to make excuses for the mediocre-ass roster he assembled. And then Greg Silender, the writer, says, a close friend who's been a Heat fan since before Riley just texted me, yeah, I'm out.
They're just going to continue to tread water, which is what the one thing that Heat fans didn't want to see after the years of frustration finally caught up to the majority of the fan base. There were subsects of the fan base that were like, I don't think this is the right path.
I mean, I'm aggravated. I haven't been aggravated like this, and I don't know.
You should be. I was talking to Billy before the show. I'm like, their plan is essentially to run it back, and he correctly said, well, they're not running it back. Duncan Robinson isn't here anymore. They might actually be worse. Their plan is... There is a part in this article of Barry's, which is the Heat don't feel like they actually got a fair shot to evaluate the roster because of all the chaos Jimmy Butler caused. Yeah. Again, not exactly accepting your accountability on your part in the Jimmy Butler mess, Miami, but that's fine. They also blamed Andrew Wiggins' ankle injury. They want to develop these young assets, hopefully trade for a superstar, but there is a huge flaw in the logic, and even Barry Jackson admits this. Say they develop guys. They already have two all-stars in Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. Their package, if they went all in on trying to acquire a superstar like Giannis, they don't have a good hand compared to Houston or San Antonio. They're still falling short. And the reason why they don't want to go in the other direction and tank is because they point to several examples of where tanking doesn't work. They don't point to the Oklahoma City Thunder where it does work spectacularly. Do they not have confidence in their own ability to rebuild the roster? Their best trade assets are the two All-Stars, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. We got a season. They blamed the Jimmy Butler chaos, but we got...
The Rockets tanked too, correct? The Rockets also tanked and got rewarded for tanking.
And they took your lunch money on Kevin Durant, and they still have plenty of assets to go ahead and beat you to Giannis. So it's
okay, but
that
part's not hard. Why they're not willing to do the tanking part? Riley's 80. That's why. Like, that part's not hard.
But, okay, so what's more important? Riley's age? And I'm just asking this question because you could answer that Riley gets to go however he wants because he's the godfather and he brought us all this success and he made the franchise relevant. But what is more important? Riley's age and his timetable or the betterment of the franchise?
I want to ask you guys a number of questions related to that point right there, okay? That he just mentioned, because this is the loudest I've ever heard it around Pat Riley. Jeff Teague is saying, quote, you know what's so funny?
What do you have to say?
What Pat said at the end of the year. This won't be the same team as last year. Yeah, well, you're right. Actually, it won't. You let Duncan go, you got worse. Unless they are about to get Bradley Beal something or end quote.
It's right on the money, and Pat said that.
It's not right on the money. The move that Jeff Teague wants him to make is getting Bradley Beal?
No, it's right on the money in calling out what Pat Riley said at the end of the year, which got Heat fans excited. All right, the Godfather finally realizes he got hit in the face with the biggest blowout in NBA playoff history. There are changes coming. And the changes are Duncan Robinson isn't going to be here anymore. That's true. Now, the Bradley Beal thing, cast that to the side. But it's absolutely a fair accusation, and to me, it leads me to believe, wait, there is an alignment here in what Pat said and what the final verdict was. So who's in charge?
Zaz, let's do this, because I will say, when you say who's in charge, this is an interesting one, right? Because I floated this guy to you guys before, because this is a bit of a crossroads for the Miami Heat. And I've told you the inner workings of this team aren't what people think it is. The people who run this team are Mickey and Nick Arison. Nick is Pat Riley's boss. When Mickey Arison came up through the cruise line industry, he was put in charge of everything when he was 30 years old, and he did the same thing for his son with this organization. And I'm not positive that Nick and Pat are connected right here. Where Pat is at 80, I want to win right now, and I don't know if Nick would rather have the draft picks or not, and I don't know what kind of tension it might cause. Because it has caused tension, and it's not big tension, but how do you imagine Pat Riley feels about reporting to Nick Arison, who used to be a ball boy? How do you imagine that would go in the places where there's disagreement and Nick has to win things? I don't know. I don't have the answer for you on how often Nick is overruling Pat, how often Nick is the deciding vote in the vote of 5 among the group of 5 that make the decision. But I will keep telling you again and again, and no one seems to know this, the person that Pat Riley reports to is Nick Arison.
But Nick was probably 10 years old when Pat Riley got here, right? I'm being serious. Like 19... He was probably 10 years old, something like that, and now it's his boss. But wouldn't you assume, if we're just using common sense here, wouldn't you assume the CEO, who is Nick Arison's age, whatever he is, 40, whatever he is, and Pat Riley, who is 80, wouldn't you assume that they're on completely different sides of how to move forward with this team? Like, wouldn't that be common sense?
I think the way, though, that it comes off, whether it's intentional or not, is when it's good times, it's Pat Riley. When it's bad times, he can't do anything. It's not his fault. His hands are tied.
What I'm telling you, though, is that Pat's not going to draft. He's not going to go for 6 draft picks like that. He's not going to do that. You guys got to tell me whether you're okay with this. This is what you have to answer for me if we're going to go ahead and flush out this hypothetical. You guys good with Pat Riley just stepping down because the Heat decide to go to rebuild?
Yeah,
Am I good with it if that's what he decides on?
No, but he would be being forced out because they're running the organization differently than you guys want it to be run, and differently than he would want it to be run.
I just want the franchise to get to being a contender quickly.
But how long is his leash is the question, right? Because like everyone's like, yeah, Pat can go out on his own terms, but like if this is just the same thing every year for the next decade, how long is it going to be he can go out on his own terms for?
Here's a couple of things that have bothered me about Miami Heat fans pushing back on this notion. Everyone points to the 2 finals in 3 years, and you got to
pushing back on the notion that Pat Riley,
that he's done and that he's cooked. Look, man, they won 2 Eastern Conference championships. Number one, the roster's totally different right now. Number two, that was a long time ago because the Dallas Mavericks were. It was a long time ago. The Dallas Mavericks were in the NBA Finals more recently than the Miami Heat, and they were a punchline come Martin Luther King Day. So we were all laughing at Dallas, but apparently we can't laugh at Miami for being the same kind of disaster. I genuinely don't know what is the quicker path to being a contender. Writing it out, and presumably they hope that they can develop the young guys into assets that can somehow usurp the package that Houston and San Antonio could present for a superstar, or just saying, Bam and Tyler are our best assets right now. Let's get a bevy of picks and do it the Houston way.
I think the most damning thing about the Heat and Pat and just like the front office right now is it's crazy to say, but it was 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, you had LeBron James, you had Dwayne Wade, you had Chris Bosh, back-to-back titles. You were the toast of the town. You were the team everyone envied in the NBA. People hated, whatever, right? You took the town from the Dolphins. And in 10 years, you're on the precipice of losing the town to a hockey team. Yep.
Well,
you're trending towards losing the town to a hockey team that historically Miami has not cared about.
Yeah, that's not true. I mean, as much as I love the Panthers, and the Panthers, I mean, essentially get my attention first these days, they're not in jeopardy of losing the town.
You think if you go around the town, everyone's like, the Heat, the Heat, the Heat?
It's 2 different towns.
Yeah,
We're talking about Broward and Dade. It's 2 different places.
Yeah, there are incremental gains in Miami-Dade, and they're going to have to keep chipping away. Like A.J. Greer is having a party in Westchester tonight. That's something that would...
Whoa, what's going on there? I don't know about that.
A 4th-line winger is going to a local brewery to celebrate the Stanley Cup in Westchester. It boggles the mind.
Is he going to have the cup? He's not going to have the cup. They're putting the names on it right now,
they're
right?
engraving it right now.
To be fair, though, to what it is the Heat have built here, just to be clear, and Zaz is right about this, the Panthers are becoming something that is more of a Dade County team. The Heat, over the virtue of the last 20 years, are Dade and Broward.
Yeah,
They're
no
not
doubt.
just Dade.
No doubt, but to Billy's point, Greg Cody wrote an entire column on this. Is like the shoe's on the other foot now. The Panthers are what the Heat once were, and the Heat,
with the great management and the winning.
in terms of where they are as a franchise and getting close to a championship and the perception and the respect that they garner from around the league and what the fans actually feel about their team's chances, the Miami Heat are stuck in the middle of no man's land right now.
They are, but let me just stop you guys for a second on what it is you're doing. First of all, I want to ask a question. Mike has now used this expression a handful of times over the last few weeks. He has commented on the taking of lunch money. Are we still doing lunch money given that we're not doing cash anymore?
No, actually, the bill that just passed made sure that there is no more lunch money and no more lunch
just
period.
passed. The big, beautiful bill just passed this morning at 6 a.m.
Well, part of the deal was they can't call it that anymore because that triggers people.
All right. But lunch money, physical lunch money, is that something that bullies still take? Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Is lunch money still something that bullies take? But the place that I wanted to stop you guys, and forgive the fire alarm, we're going to just blow right through it because we're on live and we don't care. And
What if
We
there's
didn't
a fire?
get we didn't get the preemptive. This is just a drill today.
right, we will continue
Might
to
be a
ignore
fire.
these
It
until
smells
one day we get the viral moment of all of us going up in flames here because we've ignored the fire alarm again. But the thing that you guys do, and this is really easy to do, right? Because we all get to be general managers and no one holds us accountable for when we get it wrong. You say the Heat have failed the last few years. Well, you guys didn't want Harden. You didn't want Kyrie Irving. You didn't want them. They were both available. They've just signed quietly elsewhere. It seems to have worked out. You didn't want those guys. You wanted Dame. And if you'd gotten him, you wouldn't be real happy right now if Damian Lillard had also gotten here. So all your moves end up working, even though they don't, because Harden just signed quietly with the Clippers. Hasn't been an issue there. They love having him, $40 million a year. Kyrie Irving just signed quietly with Dallas. Doesn't seem to have any problems there.
I don't know if what you're doing is right. Again, apologies for this fire alarm. That does not shut the up.
I can't hear you.
We were talking about Tyler Hero for James Harden. That was an actual debate, and a lot of people felt really strongly about getting James Harden. Kyrie Irving had a lot of off-the-court stuff going on at the time.
They both did.
And this was at the time where Miami was actually competing for Eastern Conference championships. But there were plenty of arguments to be made, and I think most people landed on whatever the franchise decides on. Damian Lillard, yeah, we wanted Damian Lillard. Miami Heat wanted Damian Lillard too, and they approached that like total all right, and they failed. In fact, every example that you cited, Miami kicked the tires and tried to put together something to get these players, and they failed.
My biggest problem with the Heat's plan right now is they are seeming. It doesn't have to be seemingly. Their MO is to have all these assets, young players, whatever draft picks they have, and they are waiting for a star player, a superstar player, to get upset with his current situation, and then they are going to pounce. And to me, that's not a plan. Like, hoping that someone gets... Because it's plentyfold, where you're hoping for someone to get angry enough to want to be out, and then you're also hoping for that team to be willing... You're not just convincing a free agent to come to you, it's you have to convince that team to then send him to you, but in reality, that player has to make a mess of the situation so that it doesn't matter if another team has better assets than you. And that, to me... That's not a plan.
Okay, you say it's not a plan, but I would say that it's been the transplant plan of Pat Riley since he got here. Go get Alonzo Mourning. Go get Tim Hardaway. Go get Jimmy Butler. Go get LeBron James. Like, he hit on Wade and changed his entire philosophy as, okay, I will trust young players. I'm not going to do it anymore the way that I did it with the Knicks and the Lakers.
Yeah, but what happens with Duncan Robinson, who's one of these guys who's on your roster who you don't end up trading because you believe in him, and now he's gone anyways. So you never traded him for a star, and now you got nothing in return for him.
That's true, and you got a player that you invented out of nothing, as you've gotten the reputation for doing since drafting Dwayne Wade gave you the opportunity to change your entire philosophy on how it is Pat Riley does things, because he now does trust young players in a way. That was the biggest knock on Pat Riley. The only knock on Pat Riley is he will not allow young players to grow. But when you say that's not a plan, what do you mean? Miami's a transient community, and this franchise is absolutely has rested for the last 15 years on the plan of we'll wait until somebody's mad where they are and we will get them because we have better tax breaks in Florida.
But they don't get them.
Yeah, that example right there has not happened since Goran Dragic.
No, it happened with Jimmy Butler.
He's a free agent, though.
Yeah, but he was unhappy where he was, and they got Jimmy Butler when they didn't. When no one thought
look how
they
that
could
played
get
out
Jimmy
too,
Butler.
though. Like you get the disgruntled guy, and then he comes in and he's disgruntled and he makes a mess and throws off your
What
plan.
do you mean? How did that work out?
It
It worked out
worked out.
spectacularly.
No, it didn't.
they-
This is championship culture. They didn't win a championship. Like, don't come with this bullshit of we're going to win the
Okay,
championship or
but-
bust and
no,
then not win
no,
a
but
championship.
here's
Like,
the
but we
thing.
got super close.
But
They
here-
failed him, and the Sixers. He wasn't disgruntled. The Sixers chose Tobias Harrison to move the roster in a different direction.
He was disgruntled with wherever he was in Minnesota, in Philadelphia. He wanted his money. The thing that you guys are doing on this, though, is that Jimmy Butler failed, but Kyrie Irving hasn't, or James Harden hasn't. Like, they were the available guys. You wanted them. They've been successful, but they didn't get ultimate success, so they failed. They just got Harden and Irving just got re-signed because they failed in Dallas and Los Angeles.
I'm not going to go as far as to say they fell short of their ultimate goal, which is a championship. They certainly, Coach Spoelstra certainly maximized the talent available on the roster. Pat Riley did fail because it was clear as from the day that we acquired Jimmy Butler, they needed a player better than Jimmy Butler to win a title. Now, Jimmy Butler made us think about that more than twice with incredible playoff performances, but the fact remained they needed to get somebody better. They knew this. And along the way, players like that popped up that did the things that you want the disgruntled superstars to do. And the Miami Heat were in the mix. And usually that resulted in the Miami Heat getting those players. They didn't.
They chose not to. Like, they didn't
Routinely.
want to go all in to support Jimmy Butler for some
They
reason.
didn't want to go
And
all
then
in on
he,
Lillard.
historically, who's a disgruntled person, became disgruntled again here because he felt like he wasn't getting the support that he was asking for. And now he left, and here they are.
So I want to ask everybody this question because you've heard me say a number of different times while watching, for example, the Patriots. I can't even imagine what Boston sports radio is right now when it comes to conversations about the Patriots. Because you get so spoiled of, we expect to win the championship a third of the time. The Miami Heat have placed the standard in a place that makes all of this louder than it has been at any time, at least in part because of where they place the standard of, the fan base is used to getting whoever or whatever they want. And now when they don't get the people they want, you guys say that Jimmy Butler is a failure somehow, or the Jimmy Butler experience was a failure when it went from Deion Waiters and Hassan Whiteside to they're in the finals twice.
Can we travel back in time, though, momentarily? What was the general feeling when the Miami Heat got pretty much beat up by the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals?
Not good enough.
They're not good enough. Everyone agreed. Incredible season, maximize it. Hell yeah, we beat Boston. That feels amazing. But if we want to win a title, we know we got to get better. 3 years have gone by of them failing to get better. They've gotten worse.
Agreed.
I think after 3 years, and I was sounding the alarms after they made the final saying that this isn't good enough, and I was confused as everybody else around us got better. All right, that's fine. Year 1, maybe I knee-jerk. Year 2, start listening to me. Year 3, that's why the Flames are as high as they've ever been.
I understand. Bam said at the last presser there are going to be a lot of changes this summer. Be prepared for that. And there hasn't been anything since, and I understand the frustration. The place that I'm just stopping you guys, at the risk of being accused of being accused of being a mouthpiece for the Heat.
You're part of the big three.
I am part of the big three. I didn't like my ranking there. Barry, Ethan, then me.
Well, you occasionally go into it.
You build up.
You're not as consistent as the other guys in being a mouthpiece.
Because I am never, ever leaked anything volunteered. That's not something the organization does. I sometimes go around and ask questions. But the demand being made, I get it. I get the frustration. But please understand when you point to me and you say, okay, they did what they did with Jimmy Butler and got to the finals and then weren't good enough. And then you're saying, you know what I realized during the finals? Need someone better than Jokic. Okay. You
Not
win.
necessarily.
No, but you win.
Need someone better than Jimmy.
No.
And that was consistent. That was a 6-year conversation.
You get to Denver, and the reason you lose is because Jimmy's not as good as Jokic.
Right, but what we were worried about wasn't necessarily like, look, they got to make it through the West. Hopefully someone takes Jokic out before you get there. But it wasn't a sustainable business model being able to beat Boston. It was wonderful that you did it as many times as you did, but everybody else continued to improve, and we didn't.
You say a sustainable model. I would say that the Heat selling out their arena has been a sustainable model for 15 years because they've been relevant. And I would also say that while Pat Riley set the standard at championship or bust, it makes damn near every player in the league a bust to make it championship or bust. Because by that definition, Jimmy Butler is a bust. By that definition.
Agreed. We're on the same page.
But I don't agree.
Good.
I don't agree with
You
that.
just said it.
I
You
don't
just
agree with
said
it.
it. We agree.
By that definition.
Well, Jimmy Butler agrees. And whether you think it's performative or not, he has given plenty of interviews since his departure, and even while he was here being allegedly happy, saying we failed.
Right, and Luka failed last year and then was traded because he's a bust too. We're just going to keep
But we're
doing
just
that.
giving Pat Riley a pass forever. Like, he can just do whatever he wants and
he's
whatever.
not getting
Pat
a
I
Riley.
don't
pass.
think anyone's giving him a pass.
First of all,
please,
he's
we're
not
giving him a
getting
pass right now.
Well, first of all, he's not getting a pass. Second of all, if anyone in sports were to get a Pat Riley or forever pass, I'd name it after Pat Riley because.
Same, because he gets it forever.
Well, just I don't know what. So what would you do, Billy? Say it.
What would I do?
Yeah, right now, just say it.
I think Pat Riley needs to go. I don't think that anyone's been beating around the bush
So
on this.
fire him.
Would I fire him? I mean, I would say I think that we need to move in a different direction.
So fire him.
Yeah.
Would that
force out.
necessarily be fired? Like, he may decide to resign if Nick Arison tells him, hey, we just don't agree with your plan. We're going to trade Bam. We're going to trade Tyler. This is the direction that the franchise is going to go into. And I can see Pat Riley saying, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm just going to willingly step down. You never fire. Pat Riley should never be fired.
This thing that you guys are
But he's
doing.
not going to leave on his own volition.
I think he might if that's presented to him. Dan would know.
If that hypothetical, I have not asked, so I don't know that, and I'm just throwing it out there as a hypothetical, though. But it would make sense. It's a logical hypothetical for Nick to have not been in charge for as long as he has been, and to want to be in charge now that they're making a change. I would say to all of you, though, if you're firing Pat Riley, then you're also saying that the rest of it isn't, because Spo has a tremendous amount to do with every decision being made around there. He's 1/5 of. It's him,
But you
Ellis
see,
Berger.
like, now it's not Pat Riley, it's Eric Spoelstra's fault that
But
this
no,
isn't
but Billy,
working out. And they're not
everyone-
it's just never Pat Riley's fault.
Everyone, dude, we're the only ones talking about the five.
We're the only ones talking about
Everyone
the
is
Heat
saying
today.
it's Pat
obviously.
Riley's
Everybody
fault.
nationally, it's just Pat
Everyone.
Riley.
You put on television, Stephen A. Smith only refers to Pat Riley. He never says Nick Harrison
Like,
or Andy Ellis.
Outside of us on this show right here saying that there's a five-headed monster here, I don't hear anyone else.
No
Everyone
one
else
else
is
says
just
that.
Pat Riley.
And that's okay, though, but that's how the whole thing is set up. It has worked for many years.
So what would you do?
And it'll, by
if
the
this,
way,
if this is not working according to you, what would you do?
if I may, before you answer that perception nationally is how Pat Riley likes
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That's why Pat Riley is the one that's doing the end
It's
of
how
the
the
season.
Arisons,
I think it's how the organization
it's
likes
how
it,
the
yeah.
Arisons
No,
like it.
no, it's
as
mutually
well.
beneficial. And Pat loves going out there and gassing up the Heat fans, talking about Wales and talking about changes and leaning into the godfatherness of that.
You say he loves that, but there's a reason he only talks to the press once or twice a year now. He doesn't actually want to do much
Now he
of
doesn't
that
love
anymore.
attention. Versace man with his slick back hair doesn't like the spotlight.
He doesn't like to get
Versace
in
man.
Spoelstra's way on whatever the voice for the organization is, and so he doesn't actually speak very much. And everyone, I told you guys this recently, everyone in Hollywood says that the big documentaries that can get made by anybody at any time are Larry Bird and Pat Riley.
Can we trade that in for Giannis? Like, can we? The provisional green light for Pat Riley's documentary, is that a trade chip for us?
Let me
Larry
ask.
Bird would be so boring.
The Hick
Imagine
from-
Larry Bird documentary.
That's the stories by others that would be.
I think a
good.
Larry Bird documentary in theaters would be out of theaters by week 2.
Really? You don't think so?
Oh,
I think
it'd be a
he
massive
talks,
loss.
He's famously like a great talker. He's the Hick from French Lick, the rivalry with Magic dating back to college, being a white guy in Boston. I think there are plenty of
There's a
interesting
lot of
stories.
white guys in Boston.
No, but you know what I mean.
Let me answer Billy's question here because I don't want to avoid it when he says what it is that I would do. And I will say that you can catch me in an inconsistency here locally if you remember, as my father does, how insulted Don Shula was that I called for his replacement in the Miami Herald.
Cobbler.
When he has the same kind of reputation that Pat Riley does in this town and with building this organization.
That doesn't get the same attention as my dad's Trade Marino column. You did a fire Shula column?
Yeah, because I wanted to replace
lot
him
of
with
people did?
Jimmy
Oh.
Johnson. And so what I'm
Shula grilled him.
Yeah, he was mad at me. But what I'm say to Billy in terms of an answer on the Miami Heat is, I would be fine, actually, with you telling me that the Miami Heat have a different plan for Pat Riley that will have a graceful exit for him, and you have a better solution for me. Like, because it's just going to be Spo in charge of the organization.
Right. What would change if Riley's not running the show
Or
today?
you'd bring in someone else to run the
I
organization.
don't think they would, though.
It would be someone in the organization.
It's going to be somebody the Arisons
like
want.
Adam Simon, probably.
It's going to
Bill
be
Zito look like?
It's going to be
Masai.
somebody that the Arisons already know, and the Arisons aren't going to make it look like Pat Riley was fired. Like that's not ever going to happen.
Okay, but not the Arisons. What would Dan Le Batard do? This is not what
you
would
gotta give me
what
some,
would the
give me
Arisons
someone
do.
better.
Okay,
Give me someone
exactly.
better.
Okay.
Is Spo better?
And if you find someone better, what do you do?
No, Spo's not better because Spo's already there. He's already doing it. Like what's better about Spo being in charge?
There seem to be a lot of people better at it right now in the NBA. Over the last 3 years, it's hard to argue.
Give me a name that would excite you guys.
Sam Presti.
I would love
You're
Brad
in charge
Stevens.
in this scenario.
Give me Brad Stevens.
Okay, great. Go get Brad.